Hey party people, over 12 here and welcome to the third Suburban Gooner podcast. As I said last week, we're now on iTunes. Think over and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed last week and heard rather than saw that we've actually fixed the sound issue. And thanks to the Gooner Girls pod for that. They sent Ben over some information about how we did that, so we've done that. How you doing, lads? Chris, you there?
Splendid, yes. Wonderful,
Benjamin?
marvellous.
Yes, all good.
Good. So we've got 3 topics to talk about today, so that gives us an average of 10 minutes. That means we're going to fail completely. Dortmund. Who wants to start talking about the Dortmund game?
Ben.
Sorry. I'm still laughing
Ben.
about Boyzone. Looking at hindsight is a beautiful thing. Looking back, I think it wasn't so bad. Just reliving the first sort of 45 minutes, it was a bit horrific because it was the same as 2 years ago. They were completely all over us and they just pressed us back completely, and it was just getting a bit embarrassing. And lucky, as the game sort of went on, we built up our confidence, and then we went one down, didn't we? Ramsey's sort of slight error. But yeah, sort of on the whole, I think it wasn't so bad. It was just a bit sort of depressing that we're not at that level yet. But I don't know, there was lots of room for improvement, I suppose. I suppose that's a good way to look at it, is we weren't completely played off the park in the sort of second half when they sat back a bit. Gave us room to play, and I don't know, I was quite impressed. What did you guys think?
Well, I disagree with you there. When you said we were not at their level, I think we were totally at their level. I think basically it was. I'm gonna hold my hands up and say this is all my fault, because I said on last week's podcast that Lewandowski was going to have an absolute stinker of a game and not score and give the boys a wink and say I'll see you in January. And lo and behold, he creeps in at the back post and says thank you very much, and just it was a snatch of a winner. They didn't
He's
really
ice cold, isn't he?
I didn't really think that they'd out in that second half. We did enough to beat them, I thought. I think the first 15, 20 minutes we sat back. There was no pressing like there was with the Napoli game. We sat back and we were content to let them have the ball, and they squeezed us and they put two. They did a number on Ozil straight away, didn't they? I mean, they saw him as danger man. He was quiet all night. I mean, Ramsey, I don't know what he was doing, really dwelling on the ball, but he did, and maybe that's his overconfidence or too much confidence as he's got at the moment. It was a half decent finish. We got a bit lucky with ours as well.
He shanked it a little bit.
Yeah, he shanked it a little bit, but we fought. I thought we fought back into the game. Giroud, again, I thought he was a bit fortunate that there was a bit of a miscommunication between their centre back.
Wait one sec. Is that the best open goal finish of all time?
Yeah, I think it was.
He really could have done anything, couldn't he? No, the best one. Do you know what? The best one has got to go to Mario Balotelli. Was it that one that he did?
He shouldered it, didn't he?
Yeah, where he literally just shouldered it in. That's got to be the best one.
Yeah.
But, it was a net breaker, wasn't it? Do you know what though? If that had been one of us, that would have just shanked it over.
Because I was thinking, what's he doing?
Roddy Rosenthal all over again. Anyway, Steve.
Actually, it's not your fault. It's my fault. Do you know what happened?
What?
I didn't stick my stickers in before the game.
Oh no!
Yeah, and I don't worry. I atoned. I stuck them in. I was up to date before the Palace game, and that's why we won.
Oh, can I have a confession to make? Yeah. I'm really, really tardy with my stickers, and so Jens Lehmann has like one eye because it's just creased down the middle. So Jens Lehmann's got one eye.
Are you pissed when you did it?
No, I just wasn't paying. I probably came back from the game. I was one eye on the television, looking to see what was going to happen with the match of the day, and then the other eye on the actual sticker book, and I just fell at the first hurdle. So my sticker book is just going to be an absolute calamity. Come the end of the season, it's going to be things in wrong places, and it's World Cup '94 all over again.
Just in case there is anybody listening that doesn't get to the Emirates on a regular basis, we're not collecting the Panini Premier League sticker book. Arsenal are actually giving out stickers at every home game.
Yeah, is it lovely of them to charge us an extra 50p on the programmes as well?
Oh no, it's free stickers. It's free stickers. I'm sure it's completely not related that it went up 50p. They're free.
Oh right, okay, yes, definitely.
But yeah, the Ramsey thing, that was annoying. I'm sure we can forgive him for everything he's done so far, but that was frustrating, just trying to dribbling it out. And again, I'd agree. The first kind of 20 minutes, they were on top of us. But after that, if you had to choose a team that was going to win, we hit the post, the bar, didn't we?
Yep.
And Lewandowski, until that last opportunity, didn't
Yeah.
have a sniff at all.
What was obviously we lost the game, and I was just a bit too simmering with Howard rage to re-watch the game. So I've only seen it like live, but from where I sit in block 5, so it was the other side of the pitch. It looked like Sanya was woefully out of position. He wasn't. I didn't even know where he was when Lewandowski just came in at the back post. Was it actually Sanya that was caught out of position, or was it that on the left hand side Gibbs could have done more with the guy that put the cross in, or the our two centre backs? Well, I mean, what do you make of it, guys?
It was just like basic positional errors from both of them, to be honest. Gibbs pressed at the wrong time, and Sanya was just out of position, and then it was just 3-on-2. I think as the ball came across, Lewandowski was in the space that Sanya should have been in, and he just smashes it home. So
someone said to me that it didn't look like he meant it. It looked like he meant to shoot in one corner and it went in the other corner.
No, he just put it in the net. Not having that. No, he just put it in. He just knew what he was doing.
I mean, I was obviously, as I say, in block 32 where I sit.
So was that your end, Steve?
Yeah, I don't remember seeing Sanya, but again, I haven't watched the goal back. I haven't brought myself the pain of doing that yet. I've watched the Giroud goal back, but I haven't watched their goals.
Very good display. But I'll tell you what, I don't know, lessons for us to learn was how they sort of switched their plan. Sort of first half was press as a unit. I don't know if you remember, Chris, talking about Bold saying that we aren't good enough to press as a whole team. We're going to press as sort of individuals at individual times when a team gets to a certain area in our half, basically. And they were just, the way they were sort of pushing up, it was amazing to watch, because obviously on the TV you get to see it all sort of like a game of chess almost. And sort of Lewandowski goes, and then Royce would sort of come up behind, and it was just amazing to watch them in the second half. Obviously, because you can't physically run for that amount of time, as you previously said, they just went and sat on Ozil, and that's when he shifted out to the right, and then it only Santi coming on really kind of threw their plan a little bit, and as he was sort of
something else to think about.
Exactly. And that was when we were sort of getting a bit more freedom, and you sort of thought, if he was on for maybe 10-15 minutes longer, we may have got that winning goal.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Go on, Steve.
I was going to say, that's the good thing about having Santi is other teams could have potentially looked at that and just shoved 2 or 3 players on Ozil every game. But the fact we've got Santi as well, they can't do that, because if they sit on one, they're just going to give the other person even more space.
Yeah.
Do you know what? The thing that frustrates me is the pressing game is not difficult. All you need to do is be fit, and we're always hearing that Arsenal have got some of the fittest players in the Premier League. I've had some sort of stats, or some people say things like the reason why we get so injured is because, I don't know whether we peak too much fitness-wise earlier on in the season, but we're supposed to have some of the fittest players, and so you would have thought that pressing is something that we could do. Barcelona did it to us a few years ago. Why can't we press all over the pitch? Why can't we be fitter? We should have a squad now that's big enough. Apart from Giroud up top, we should have a squad that is big enough and strong enough and fit enough that we can press. And when they're knackered, when the players are into that fabled red zone, then we just rotate. That's how it should be. And I don't know. It's frustrating to see that we weren't on it for the first 25 minutes, and then suddenly we started to click into gear. And then the second half, we were winning the ball. We looked good. I mean, the fans were certainly cheering their hearts out. Again, I just want to dispel some myths that I'd heard on Twitter. I don't know if you read this, Steve or Ben, but there were some people saying that our fans were terrible and we were really put to shame. It was like, no, our fans were not terrible and quiet. We were singing our hearts out at times, but sometimes you just got to recognise that you've got crazy drunk Germans who'd been drinking in Trafalgar Square since 10 o'clock that were all a lot more raucous than us, and that's just the way it is. I'm not having this that the Arsenal fans were quiet. It's just that we were almost, from the fans' point of view, we were beaten by a better team in terms of the singing.
You could hear us on the TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you said that, Ben, because I agree, Chris. There were times where we were singing our hearts, but yeah, the Dortmund fans were mad. They were great. It was good to, great atmosphere, but yeah, we weren't quiet.
Mm. Well, just one last thing on that. I think watching the sort of Dortmund game sort of sums us up, like our football as a whole. Sort of if teams give us room, we have the quality to find holes in their defence. But if they press, we have to be patient, and our play won't sort of kick off until the last sort of 20 minutes of the game. And the two halves of Dortmund was how it was almost like how it was at West Brom, where they sat back and we couldn't do much. But then second half was almost like who was open, like Napoli was open, and we just had room to sort of exploit. And it was interesting to see. Obviously, already mentioned positives of Dortmund, but positives from us that we do have different options. When people say that we don't do things tactically, when clearly we do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we do have options, and we do change it around a bit. We mix it around a bit, but the Napoli game and the Dortmund game were just two different things. I mean, we got early goals in the Napoli game, which effectively killed them off, and that made a massive difference. We were down. I don't know how quickly it was that we were down against Dortmund, but we were actually then having to fight back, and so it was a little bit of a different situation. But yeah, we mixed it up a little bit. Can we move on from Dortmund? I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, I agree. It's depressing me.
Let's talk about the totally not depressing thing about the game at the weekend.
Yeah, and I think the thing that is
500% possession we had.
To finish off, the thing that is depressing is that we were good enough to get something out of that game. And it just brings on the people saying, "Oh, your first big test and you lost," and it's just it's annoying. But yeah, so
naivety.
Going over to the Palace game. Then has anyone heard anything about the Flemster?
No, supposedly it's groin. And when he looked like he was just sort of saying to the medical staff that he was doing some sort of, I don't know, like a ring pulley gesture, as if like he's got a piece of rope and he's a Boy Scout and he's tied it in a knot and he's just pulled it tight. So that's the closest description I can give you. He's a Boy Scout that ties knots.
I missed the first kind of 20 minutes of the game, so he'd already gone off by the time I got to watch it.
Steve, you didn't miss anything. It was more sideways passing than I've ever seen, and it was a Crystal Palace team that had no intention whatsoever of getting the ball forward. And I can't blame them, really, because if you've got Marouane Chamakh as your star striker, who needs to just get his hair, like get a blow dryer to his hair, because that stuff drives me insane. I can't work out whether or not he's got so much gel on now, or if he's actually going a bit bald, because that little bit at the front so it winds me up. But yeah, if you've got Marouane Chamakh as the guy that's going to be holding up the ball and winning things, I mean, the guy can't even time headers properly, so I don't know.
Yeah, that was funny, wasn't it? To be fair to him, though, he did okay, I thought. I mean, nothing special, but certainly more than he'd done for us the last few games. The other thing I really didn't miss by missing out on the first 20 minutes was it meant I had 20 minutes of my life where I didn't have to watch BT Sport as well.
Oh my God, that was a travesty. Gosh, Michael Owen
is awful.
Good God. I missed count of the number of times that he said, "Oh, it's a dry pitch." It's almost as if he's kind of thought, right, I've got to come up with some sort of tactical analysis to make me sound intelligent. So what have I got? I can talk about Arsenal and the way they play good football. No, that won't work. Everyone will say that. I can talk about Palace and how they're in trouble at the moment. No, that won't work. I've got, what can I say about I don't know. Oh, hold on a second. That pitch, it looks a bit dry. Right, yeah. So, and then he comes out with stupid comments like, the dry pitch will suit Crystal Palace. They'll play the ball long and they'll win. And this wind will really help Palace. And it's like, what? How is that going to make any difference?
He said that when Delaney made that challenge that nearly ended up in the back of their net and the ball kind of spun just past the post. He said, if it was a wet pitch, that would have gone in.
If it was a wet pitch and that goal was an extra 5 foot to the left, that'd have gone in. Oh, what an idiot! He's such a tool. He's so boring, and he's such a tool. And then and then he was having an argument with Mark Halsey about the sending off. Mark Halsey goes, Yeah, no, I wouldn't have given that. I'm a yellow, and I would have given a yellow. And then Michael Owen went, no, I'm not having that. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, Michael. We've only got a guy who's been a professional referee for like 20 years of his life or whatever it is. But of course, you being a failed England striker who hamstrings went after you were like 19 years old, and went from club to club, never really being successful after your days at Liverpool. You obviously know best, so what we'll do is we'll just cut Mark Halsey out and we'll just listen to Ref Time with Michael Owen.
Somebody tweeted as well that Owen must think Shamak can run as fast as he could for him to think that that's a goal-scoring opportunity. Did you see the McManaman analysis after the game?
No.
I dared not. I think I watched about 10 seconds of it and then went off.
It was quite good actually. What he did is they slowed down the play of the red card, and what actually happened was Shamak took a bad touch to the right, so the ball wasn't even going towards the goal anyway, and then he veered his run into Arteta. So actually what McManaman was saying is he fouled Arteta, and then you had David James Owen Hargreaves going, no, it's a goal scoring opportunity, so he had to go. And he's like, yeah, but he ran into Arteta, and they're like, yeah, but it was a goal scoring opportunity. They weren't even like denying it, they were just saying because it was a goal scoring opportunity, he had to go.
It was awful. I think the day pretty much started off terribly because I was around my the in-laws, and it's the sort of pre-match build-up started off terribly when I saw some absolute idiot called KSI who I'd never heard before, which sounds like some sort of strain that you'd get. It's like I've got a grade 1 KSI. This dude with the stupid hat just comes along, and all he does is play FIFA football, and then for 2 or 3 minutes. You watched him and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain play FIFA football. It's like, what? What has television become?
I know who KSI is.
So do I. I get quiet.
Oh God!
When I saw your tweet about that saying who's this KSI guy, I think you retweeted someone. I was actually a bit gutted. I missed that.
Oh, Stephen Jeremiah Othen.
Basically, he does some quite funny YouTube videos. I mean, I don't generally watch much of them, but I've seen about 2, I think, that were quite funny, where he shows just like FIFA glitches. And the only reason I even know who he is because I was at Eurogamer convention last year, and there was this guy near the FIFA thing, and everybody started kind of running around him and getting all excited. And I'm like, what's going on? And this guy said, it's KSI. And I was like, who's KSI? He's like, he's a YouTuber. So now I know that the guy on BT Sport was a YouTuber. That's the only reason I know who he is.
It sounds like some sort of medical condition that affects people in Japan where they have to wear those masks. I'm not having it. I don't want to. I'm certainly not spending £15 a month for BT Sport.
Oh no, not at all. I think that's
absolute waste of time. And then to get Michael Owen on, Mark Halsey. Okay, they've tried something a bit different there, but then their commentary, like before the build-up, after the build-up, even the little things. Like let's talk about the football in a second. But like when they were doing the line-ups beforehand, and they have the manager standing next to, and Arsene Wenger, has he ever felt more uncomfortable there? His hands looked a bit uncomfortable. He was wearing like little white shorts, fantastic. And his legs. Oh God! It's like someone's old uncle had just been
proper
filmed.
Cringe.
It's awful. But yeah, anyway, first half, Steve, you missed the first 20 minutes. Talk me through your thoughts on the goals, the penalty decisions.
I didn't see the first one. I didn't see the one that we didn't get.
Right. I think it was just outside the box. Ben?
Oh, the one where we got the free kick on the right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was outside the box. Sorry, I thought there was one before that. Yeah, outside the box.
My initial reaction was outside the box.
Yeah. So he got that one right, and then I don't know what that Guardiola was thinking with the challenge.
Him, didn't he?
Yeah.
That was good play from Gnabry or Gnabry or whatever we're supposed to say. That was a good footwork from him.
Yeah, do you know what? He came on. He looked lively, didn't he, in the first half? And his direct running at goals was really, really good. I think we're going to see him in midweek, and hopefully he'll surprise a few people. In the second half, he started off well, but then I think he just faded towards the end. But certainly, I mean, he came off, didn't he, when we went down to 10 men? So he only had about 20 odd minutes before he was hauled off. So I feel a bit sorry for him because he might have been able to. He might have been able to impact the game a bit more had the stupid decision to send Arteta off I've stood. But I guess the positives from it, I didn't know this until earlier on today, actually. But it's only one game ban, so that's really good because that just means he'll miss.
It's not
He'll
violent
miss week.
conduct or anything, is it? So it will just
No.
be one game. Do you know if they've said anything about appealing that? I mean, it's one of those things where the FA would probably stand by the referee anyway, because it isn't exactly one where people have gone, everyone's gone, it's definitely not a sending off, so I doubt we'd appeal it. But have you heard anything about it?
No, Arsene said something along the lines of, we won't bother if it's only one game.
Okay.
Well, that's true though, because if you think about it, with Flamini now injured, you can't risk Arteta against Chavski.
No.
You've got to save him for the Liverpool game, so wouldn't play anyway. So you might as well just take it, game, and pray that Flamini is back within like a week and a half, 2 weeks or something. But you just know that this has got all the hallmarks of an Arsene Wenger saying 3 to 4 weeks,
and it just keeps going and going.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I found myself just staring at the area of the pitch that he should have been standing in every time like Palace broke, and the sort of where they had that Szczesny with those amazing saves.
Yes.
But prior to that, they were just getting into areas, and I was sort of looking where Ramsey was, and I was thinking, no, you've got to be deeper. And then Arteta was sort of drifting off, and I was thinking, oh my God, where is he? Bring him back on a chariot. We need him.
Chariot.
Literally, just strap him up and stand him in front of the D. In full Gandalf the White Wizard outfit, going, "You shall not pass." And even though he wouldn't be able to move, and people would just actually run around him, at least he'd look a bit scary.
Oh,
yeah, I feel a bit sorry for Arteta actually, because I really, really, really rate him as a player, but people expect him to do the exact same job as Flamini, and he's a different player, and it's not that. As I say, it's not that he's a bad player. It's just as a defensive midfielder, Flamini brings more to the table, and his barking orders and everything. I think half of it is that even our players are probably scared of him, so they do what he says.
Yeah, which is good because he's a leader.
Yeah, I've got a question for you, Chris.
Go on.
I've just had a look on YouTube. KSI has got 3,979,107 subscribers. Are you one of them?
No. I would rather.
Chris, that just went up to 108. Have you just subscribed?
No. I would rather take both of my eyeballs out of my sockets with rusty nails and then give them to Andre Villas-Boas to then wipe his testicles over them, and then hand them back to me, draped in a Tottenham shirt. Then subscribe to that complete and utter chump of an individual.
So that's
the end. The end.
Wow.
How nervous were you for that last sort of 15 minutes? And when Szczesny made that double save, I mean,
that was brilliant.
I was actually proper angry that we were sitting back. Weren't you just a bit annoyed that we were sitting back? I mean, Crystal Palace weren't that great, and I got the feeling that if we really wanted to hit them on the counter, we could have. Even after we'd gone down to 10 men, we did. But we should have done it 10 minutes earlier, so that I could have a nice easier last sort of 10, 15 minutes. Because I was nervous. I have to say, I was nervous for at least 15 minutes. After that Arteta, or 10 minutes after that Arteta.
I moved closer to the TV. I actually sat.
I did as well. Yeah. Isn't that a weird thing? You just get closer and closer and closer.
Like childlike, isn't it?
As if like your mind can actually sort of meld into the players and get them to do what you want them to do.
Win.
Win and win well.
But rather than talking about your anger, I think we should give a big thumbs up to Szczesny though for those saves.
Brilliant. Yeah,
amazing.
It was some world class saves, and he's come so far, hasn't he?
Yeah.
In a very, very short space of time. I mean, if you think when he was dropped, and then Fabianski came in, and Fabianski did. Everyone was saying Fabianski did well, but I just thought he did all right. It was like Almunia when he wasn't shit. So we signed Almunia, and he was a bit shit, and then he was like not that shit, just sort of normal and all right, and then he became shit again. But everyone said, Manuel Almunia was all right, but that's all he ever was. He was all right, and I felt the same with Fabianski. All he's ever been is Yeah, it's all right. He saves the saves that you'd expect a keeper to save.
Yeah.
And then he makes the odd ricket, whereas Szczesny he saves points, and that second save from Jedinak was a point saver.
Yeah,
as far as
definitely.
I'm concerned.
But it's only recently he's done that, though. Saved points.
I think he towards the end of last season, actually, when we were in Budapest, Chris, the
Remy.
QPR game.
Remy, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
And he made that save, and we were sitting around some bar having consumed half a cow and half of the population.
What was her name?
Bavarian beer hall. And we were watching that game, and you and I just looked at each other, didn't we? And were just like, "Wow, world class save!" And he's done quite a few of those, and he's done a few of those this season as well. So it says quite a lot that I don't think anyone's even seen Viviano on the bench. I mean, he's not even getting a sniff, is he?
No.
Do you think he will actually play?
No. I'm starting to think that Wenger's he's got a hierarchy, and as long as Szczesny keeps performing, then there's no point in swapping Viviano for Fabianski on the bench. It just doesn't do anything.
No point.
So if Fabianski plays in midweek, then I would say that we're unlikely to see much of Viviano.
Yes, interesting. Talking about midweek then, so you think Fabianski will play in goal? What about the rest of the team?
Jenkinson, Mertesacker, Vermaelen, Monreal, Wilshere. I think up front will be Bentner. Gnabry will play on the right. I think Rosicky will play in midfield or on the left. I wonder if Cazorla might come in. Eisfeld and Cazorla, yeah. You've got to just rotate. I mean, we're quite fluid, and a lot of those players rotate around anyway. They don't really have set positions at times.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd say something like that. That's what I'd probably do if I was in Wenger's position, because the league is more important, and arresting any kind of naysayers that think that we're going to fall apart as soon as we get to some half decent games. And also, well, this is the other thing. Like, I was just thinking about this afternoon with Mertesacker. Mertesacker and Vermaelen would work better than Vermaelen and Koscielny, but Mertesacker's played a lot of games, and we really need. Ideally, we want to give a rest to both Mertesacker and Koscielny, because they've both got to be on top form, because we've got the best strike partnership in the Premier League turning up next Saturday evening, haven't we?
Yes.
Benjamin?
Yes, no, sorry, I was just thinking about Liverpool. I sort of strayed off somewhere else. Long term, I'm not so worried about Liverpool, but just right now, they're sort of absolutely buzzing, and Suarez is just out of this world, isn't it? That good. Have you seen the highlights from yesterday?
Yeah, unfortunately.
He is sublime. He could win a game. You could put him on the pitch by himself, and he would win that game. He's that good, and that's what I'm really, really worried about, is having...
I hope they try that.
yeah. Someone text Brendan Rodgers and tell him to do it. But no, I am concerned, to be honest, without Flamini. They are going to crowd the centre of our field, and I just hope he selects wisely for that double pivot, because that is going to be make or break if we win or lose that game.
Yeah. And the Chelsea game as well, like, who's going to sit?
That's what I mean, to put a downer on it.
Who's going to sit? I
don't
know. I just don't see how Arteta can play. I really hope that he doesn't
bring Frimpong in.
Oh
yeah, possibly.
No.
I forgot. Doesn't that say a lot about his career at Arsenal, his time at Arsenal?
That
we've
completely
forgotten about him. It's probably because he's not selling any T-shirts with his fucking stupid logo on it anymore.
He needs to stop that bloody crap. Just play.
Well,
but I don't know. But no, it's just that's my worry, is the sort of the base of our midfield. As soon as Flamini went off against Palace, I was sort of thinking, what is going to happen here? Are we going to... Because we sort of... Flamini... We need someone in that position to sort of dictate play, don't we? And Flamini sort of orders the others around to make it happen. He doesn't dictate it himself, but he makes the others do it for him.
Yeah.
But without him in there, would you go Jack Wilshere and Thomas Rosicky, or... Because you need a bit of dynamism in there, and Arteta sadly doesn't have that anymore.
I think
you know what?
It's my latest concern. I don't know if you read the blog that I did the other day, but it's our inability to play out from the back when we're under pressure. Chesney goes short to Mertesacker, who goes to the edge of the box, who lays it into Arteta, who's deep. He then sort of swivels and looks and goes, "Oh, sugar, there's no one there." Then he re-swivels and gives it to Koscielny, who then panics and gives it back to Mertesacker.
Mm.
And I don't know, this is something I've sort of noticed. The first time I noticed was last season away against Aston Villa. It was one of the worst games I think I've ever seen us play.
Oh, it's terrible, isn't it?
Do you think some of it, though, because Arteta is that good in passing, that we expect him to do it every time? Because actually he does pull some really good passes out the bag going forward. But
he's very good, but do you know what? I don't know how he fits in our system.
No.
How to get the best out of him in our system.
Mikel Arteta's best position is currently occupied by about 3 or 4 players that are better than him at it in our team, in my opinion. And so, I'm of the same opinion. I mean, he's a rotation player now, if you ask me, and that's not a slight on him. It's just the fact that
no.
we're going up again. I mean, we've got Firmino in. Arteta he's going to have to ultimately accept a role. This is what's really weird. He's going to have to accept a role as a more defensive-minded player, which is not his natural position, as a squad player. So he's got to think, my best chances of getting into the team are not in my natural position, and even then, I'm only a squad player. It's a shame because he is a brilliant player and he's been brilliant for us. But I can just see us starting to move forward now and not really having a space in that midfield for Arteta, unless there is injury or suspension.
Yeah, not a starting place or not necessarily. Maybe against the bigger teams he'll be the second pivot. But it's a nice problem to have, isn't it? That Arteta doesn't fit into our team and he has to be a bit of a bench player. Not good for him, but good for us.
Going back to the Chelsea thing, I think now that you've said it, I do actually think it would make sense to have Frimpong, Wilshere, and then Eisfeld with Rosicky on the left, Cazorla on the right. What do you guys think? No, not Cazorla on the right, Gnabry on the right.
Yeah, I'd prefer him not to risk Cazorla in a way, actually.
Yeah. I'd love a full week's rest for Chesney, Sanya, Gibbs, Koscielny, Ramsey, Giroud. When does Walcott come back? Because
Podolski's training, isn't he?
The famous 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Podolski's in training, I heard.
Yeah, it's frustrating because we need them back, and then it's frustrating again on Tuesday. Is that it's that same old scenario in your head? Is that you want to win? It's a trophy. It's a winnable trophy, and I don't know. You look at the team, and we're sort of down to sort of bare bones, and I sort of appreciate.
It's almost come at the wrong time, isn't it? We could have done playing Doncaster Rovers or something, or whatever.
Yeah, because then you wouldn't have bothered. Because the thing is, if we win, that's one of the big boys out, isn't it? And I don't know, to sort of really think about it. It's a bit worrying because then, like you said, on Saturday, is it Saturday? We got Liverpool, and you sort of think, they need to rest them, but you sort of think you'd want them all on the bench. You'd think you'd want Giroud, Ozil and Ramsey on the bench as sort of plan B. And if it's going a bit Pete Tong, you can just chuck them on with sort of 20 minutes to go and try and pull something back. Because I'm sure that's not what Mourinho would do. He'll sort of line up with like Mata. Who else isn't sort of playing for Chelsea at the moment?
Eto'o didn't play. He came on towards the end.
Well, that's what I mean. Is he going to play Eto'o up front? You can't play... Yeah. You can't play sort of a weakened defence if he's playing Eto'o up front. It will get embarrassing.
Demba Ba
didn't play at all today, did he?
Well, no, yeah.
So you think that he'd probably get at least a look in, at least on the bench. So it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a really tough game. He can afford to rotate, can't he, Mourinho?
Before we finish off, guys, are you thinking about this when you mentioned Monreal playing at left back? Did you see his couple of runs against Palace?
Yeah, tasty.
Yeah, what happened there?
Fancies himself as a bit of a left winger.
Yeah. Very nice. I thought that was very nice. Right then, so to finish off, we haven't really got a scenario, but we've got the question that you tweeted, Chris, and rather than answer, Ben came up with a good idea on Twitter that, hey, use this on the podcast. So rather than doing anything that someone else has sent in, we'll do our own question. The question was, and I'll go to you first, Ben, being as it was Chris's question. If Ramsey retains his current form, would you swap him for Cesc at the end of the season?
Oh, it's good. It's like that ex-girlfriend that you sort of still have like feelings for that just keeps like phoning you up. She's like, "Come round to my place." It's like, no. Does
that happen to you a lot then, Ben?
all the time. Don't tell my wife. Please don't tell my wife. No, I'm joking. I love you.
I love you too, Ben. But
Thank
you should have a word with your wife.
Chris, is it you that keeps phoning Ben up?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, and putting up a really high pitched voice. Benjamin. That sounded more like a mother, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit weird. I would swap him.
Yeah?
Yes, I would swap him. I think, obviously, this Ramsey isn't at the level yet that Fabregas is at, and that was evident against Borussia Dortmund. And I think if Cesc played, he could play in that maybe a deeper role, and he could take us to that next level. So, yes, please, swap them.
Chris?
Yes, you pretty much just echoed what I would have said. So, yes, I would have swapped him for that very, very reason. He can play a quarterback role, can't he? Whereas his range of passing is that good. He could play that deeper line quarterback role with Ozil sitting further forward. It also gives you opportunity to rotate if you get Ozil injured or if he's fatigued. You can then play Cesc further forward. So I think he is overall a better footballer, and I'm not sure whether or not Ramsey will ever get to that sort of ability because his passing range is nowhere near, and I don't think it will ever be that great. I think that's one of Ramsey's weak points in his game is his passing range over long distances. I mean, he's all action. He's winning tackles. He's getting from box to box. His dribbling and his control on the ball is vastly improved, and he's scoring goals. But whenever I see him attempt to play a pass longer than sort of 15, 20 yards, it usually goes wrong. So, yes, Cesc. Steve?
I agree with everything you said, and Cesc Fabregas is world class. But just to be interesting, I'm going to lie and say I wouldn't swap him. Especially as we say, if he keeps his current form, that was part of the question. You look at his stats this season. If he keeps that up till the end of the year, those stats will just be ridiculous. With goals and assists. And if you put those goals and assists with that all-action play and that engine, and he's done that in the space of, from what he was last year to what he is this year, if he can keep improving, then we're laughing.
Yeah.
Ha ha ha.
Ha 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 ha. Cool. Okay, before we go, any closing remarks from you guys?
No, I found myself being very, very nervous, like Saturday evening, because of the whole idea that we were going to miss Arteta for 3 games and Flamini. But now that Arteta's back, at least for Liverpool, I'm a bit more, I'm a bit happier almost. I'm just really, really hopeful that Flamini, we get some sort of it's only a minor precaution type thing that he came off, and he'll be out for the next week or so, but he'll be back for United. I think United, that's going to be a massive game that we're going to need someone like Flamini in. So I just pray that he's available.
Okay, Ben?
Yeah, just the same really. I just hope Flamini comes back as soon as possible because it's just evident against Dortmund and Palace how much we sort of need him, and I don't know what we were doing without him before. It seems ridiculous not to have someone to fill that role in our team, but I hope we stuff Chelsea and I hope we stuff Liverpool. Up the Arsenal!
Up the Arsenal. I'd agree. I kind of had that feeling of, because as I say, I missed the first 20 minutes. We've rested Fleming. That's interesting. And then when I looked at, he'd actually gone off. It was like, oh crap. So I hope he's not out for too long either.
My stomach turned.
Cool. So let's have a fresh Chelsea, fresh Liverpool, and have a happy podcast next week.
Yeah.
Yay.
Cheers, guys.
See you later.
Suburban Gooners out.